That's what art's supposed to do. It's supposed to be objective. Like sometimes it's obvious that it's this or that, but sometimes people are just like, hey, I interpreted this in this way. I'm like, I actually never thought of that. I actually really like your interpretation better than my interpretation,
Wow.
you know?
Hey, I'm Mando Fresko, and I want to talk to you about what we can do for our Latinx community to ensure a brighter future. This election is the opportunity to create real change by coming together and making our voices heard. That better vision of the world we want is there for the taking, but we have to vote to make it happen. Our power is in our vote. Votar es poder. Visit poderlatinx.org for everything you need to know about the election, and join me in taking the pledge to vote this November. Right now, I'm connecting with my man Francisco Reyes Jr., AKA Never Made, representing the LBC.
That's right.
So brother, how did you connect with Poder Latinx?
My buddy Steve Alfaro, who I actually went to college with, not too far from here actually, he hit me up and he was putting together this whole thing with a bunch of Latino artists and a couple of, another friend of mine who all three of us actually went to college together, and his name's Ernesto Llerena, and he's pretty popular in the Latin art world. He hit me up to be a part of this. We've been trying to work together for a while now, but it's just things with COVID and all this stuff, and this was like the perfect opportunity for us to finally like link up and actually do something. And yeah, he asked me to contribute a couple pieces to this art show.
I love that.
It was really cool. It was like the virtual gallery. It was pretty rad actually to see it.
When I first saw the gallery, I've never seen anything like it, by the way.
Yeah.
It was something really cool. So
yeah, I know.
If you haven't seen it yet, you got to go check it out. So you log on and then music starts playing.
Yes.
And it's like you're literally kind of entering this party, and you're virtually just walking through all these art pieces.
Yeah, and then each room has a different track that goes with it too,
yes.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I think it was like exclusive tracks from these artists, which is really dope that, some people are seeing some of this art for the first time and they're hearing this music for the first time, and it's kind of a really cool, just like, just taking all your senses in and really giving you an experience.
Yeah, so tell me about the piece that you contributed to.
I contributed a couple.
You're flexing on me right now.
No, not at all. This is
a couple.
flexing.
That's how amazing you are.
Yeah, he asked me he has specific requests, and there's one I did called The Class of COVID-19, which is kind of like a yearbook picture of a kid that's he's wearing a gas mask, and it was just kind of a commentary on all these kids that got their graduation taken, even like, junior high school kids, high school kids, college grads, and in the top right corner, there's like a seal that I made that said the WHO Class of COVID-19, because it's like, it looks kind of like an official seal, but it's actually kind of a twist on the whole World Health Organization taking away these kids, rite of passage.
Yeah.
Graduating is a rite of passage, and unfortunately, this pandemic took that away from a lot of kids and young adults. So it was just a commentary on that.
I see that you have the pin. Shepard Fairey, Andre the Giant, the Obey, logo. So, you talked about some of your inspirations. What would you say is your biggest one?
He's the one. He's actually my boss.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I have a day job, and I work with him at an Echo Park at Studio Number One, which is an ad agency, and I've been working with him for about 10 years now. Started as an intern, just kind of doing grunt work, and eventually it turned into a full-time position, and I've been there ever since. And just being around him and just all the work that he does and the work ethic that he has is just really rubbed off on me just by being around him so much. And then we talk about current events and politics and all this stuff all the time. So It's just kind of, it's a real blessing to have my hero as my boss, but also a friend, and we've collaborated on pieces also, which is another just dream come true. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? That's an amazing thing to have and experience.
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
For your hero to be your boss. It's like me having The Rock as my boss.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. I love The Rock.
Now tell us, man, about your first time voting. Do you remember that?
It was Kerry versus Bush, 2004. Yeah, that was the first time I voted, and it just really kind of set it off for me to start paying attention to everything that was going on in the world.
That's amazing. Francisco, I think it's very important for us to vote, you know, as the Latinx community. There are a lot of, you know, younger Latinx voters or potential voters that may be on the fence, man. Why do you think it's important for this young Latinx culture, for us to vote this November?
You know, we need to show them that it's important, you know, and it's just, as brown people, you know, we have to, like, the odds are always against us. You know, we always have to work twice as hard to get half as far as, you know, as other people. And when you use your voice and actually take action, like, you are directly impacting change in order for things to get better for us as a community, but not just for us, but just for Black people, for Asian people, for just people of color in general. And it's important for them to just kind of, you know, put the phone down for a little bit and really pay attention. I think there's a cool thing going on right now with these kids that are just really actually, they seem to care this time around and not so much in 2016, you know?
Why do you think that is?
It's just that, you know, I think there was an air of curiosity, I think, in 2016 that kind of just led people into kind of just seeing what'll happen, and it kind of, I feel like it was a failed social experiment that, you know, and now people are just like, all right, things are getting a little out of hand. I just think that there needs to be some new blood in up there in the upper echelons, like, you know, just that has everybody's interests, you know, that's thinking of everybody's interests and not just the rich, you know?
Yeah. Now, Francisco, what do you hope that your art does to people when they see it?
To have a reaction. Either they get mad or they're inspired by it. But either way, as long as you have a reaction, like, that's great, because that's what art's supposed to do. It's supposed to be objective. Like, sometimes it's obvious that it's this or that, but sometimes people are just like, hey, I interpreted this in this way. I'm like, I actually never thought of that. I actually really like your interpretation better than my interpretation, you know? And I've done a couple of shows where people are just like, people want to know, they're like, what does it mean? I'm like, I want to know what it means to you, because what it means to me is not important, because I know what it means, but I want to know how you feel. What emotion did it bring up in you? What feeling, like why did you have this feeling? You know, I think art should give people, you know, people should have a reaction to art. I do. Everything has an emotional attachment or reaction to it. And I try to really make sure that I'm saying something with my work, because sometimes it could be a missed opportunity. I mean, sometimes things are just made to look pretty, and I have pieces that are just like aesthetically pleasing. But for the most part, I try to hide something in there to make it subversive and give people like, well, I wonder what that means. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, you know, we grew up in a similar neighborhood.
For sure.
My parents are from Mexico, and I remember the day when they could vote and they became, you know, American citizens. And I remember their faces and how excited they were, which is a big reason why I also vote. It's important for me to vote for myself, my family. Besides change, the obvious change that we want. Why do you vote?
Because it's a privilege. It's something that you should be proud that you're allowed to do, because in other countries you're not allowed to do that sort of thing. You don't have a voice. Here we all have a voice, and I think it's important to use that voice. And if you don't vote, then just you're not allowed to say like, well, that, like, it's like this or it's like that. I was like, well, did you vote? No. Well, then you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, you can't complain if you didn't try to make a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's just, it's important. It's like you have this privilege to vote people that represent your best interests. You have that opportunity to put people in positions of power that represent what you would like to see from this country. And if you don't take advantage of that, then you kind of got to live with what you get, you know?
Yeah.
But voting, it just gives you that, well, I did my part. You know what I'm saying?
Francisco, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
For sitting down here. Make sure to visit poderlatinx.org and check out the virtual gallery with my man Never Made, aka Francisco Reyes Jr. And also find more information about where and when to vote and take the pledge to vote. We'll catch you next time.